On this flight, I used runway 24 for the first time. This runway uses a right-hand circuit instead of the standard left-hand circuit in Camden. This flight might lead to my first solo if my instructor, Victor, is satisfied that I can fly it safely. Aside from the new runway and the circuit direction on this flight, I also experienced some unusual instructions from ATC. Since hours 18 and 19, any flight could morph into a solo flight. Whether my flight instructor would endorse me for the solo would depend on my performance at the start of the lesson and the conditions. Today's flight was very likely to be the one. I felt good with only a mild feeling of anxious anticipation. I had checked the weather forecast the night before and it looked okay. I didn't get too hyped about the weather because it can change quickly. One notable detail was that the wind was expected to come from the south. I would need to use runway 24, which I've never done before. This is not necessarily a showstopper, but it would require me to learn how to do right-hand turns and approach runway 24 using roughly the same landmarks, but from a different point of view. In today's flight, Victor was also my flight instructor. Victor, like Davide, is a full-time instructor at AutoCAP and is qualified to endorse me for the first solo. I was eager to start this flight because of the new runway and the potential solo. As you know from our previous videos, a circuit in aviation refers to the standard flight path followed by aircraft when taking off or landing at an airport. It includes several legs like crosswind, downwind, base and the final approach. The default pattern is where all turns are made to the left. This is the standard training and operational pattern in aviation and is preferred due to better pilot visibility for the turns and monitoring, as pilots usually sit on the left side of the cockpit. Right-hand circuits are implemented when specific conditions at an airport require right turns. These conditions may include geographical features, noise abatement procedures, or air traffic control instructions. Right-hand circuits demand heightened pilot awareness due to the less common nature. They are explicitly indicated in airport documentation and require specific training. The primary difference between the two circuit patterns lies in the direction of turns during the circuit. Left-hand circuits are more common and familiar to pilots, offering better visibility and being the default in training. Right-hand circuits are used in special scenarios like geographical constraints or noise abatement strategies. Pilots are trained in both patterns for adaptability and safety in various operational environments. My first contact with ground was rather unusual. Even though I requested clearance for start and taxi, I only got clearance to start.
Camden Ground, Cessna 172 Dual Alpha Hotel Hotel at the Scout Hangar. Request start and taxi for circuits and received information Bravo.
Start approved.
Start approved, Alpha Hotel Hotel.
Ground just said start approved. I had to start the engine, roll to the taxiway and make a new call to ask permission to taxi. When I made the call to request clearance for taxi, I got another unusual, at least to me, instruction granting me permission to taxi and then report at the runner bay when I was ready.
Now the other thing you got to consider is that we don't have a taxi clearance, so we have to request taxi clearance as well.
Okay, so I should stop here.
Yep.
So I can taxi anywhere without clearance up to that yellow line. That's a taxiway.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Camden Ground, Alpha Hotel Hotel, just requesting clearance for taxi.
Fuel bows are.
Run a banner for ready frequency.
Taxi holding.
Sorry,
Taxi to the runner bay. Report ready.
okay. I'll taxi to the runner bay and report when ready. Alpha Hotel Hotel. Well, it was a bit
That was a very unusual call.
In all of my previous flights, I had received permission to taxi up to the holding point. At this point, it's only been a few minutes on the ground and I had already learned a lot of new radio phrases. Another new experience was the helicopter hovering near the runner bay that I was taxiing to. Because of the downwash from the helicopter's rotor, small planes should stay well clear. So we briefly stopped in the taxiway to wait for the helicopter to move and then continued to the runner bay.
So we're going very close to that helicopter.
Yeah, so
Would
slow
that
it
be a
down.
problem?
Let's wait where the red cones are.
Yep. Because I'm thinking that the downwash from the rotors is like a gust of wind.
Yep, so we'll wait around here.
Camden, ground, helicopter uniform Tango Mike, up on the infield complete. Uniform Tango Mike, taxi park. Taxi park, uniform Tango Mike.
Yep, when you're ready, keep going.
Right, so we don't have to ask permission, we're just waiting for that helicopter to get out of the way.
Yep.
I did the relevant checks at the runner bay and then made yet another call to ground to let them know that I was ready. I made the call, but there was no response. There was no radio chatter either. Maybe the controller had gone for a break. So I retransmitted and got a response in fast forward mode, clearing me for runway 24, holding point echo.
Now Victor, question for you. His ATC said
Yeah, so we're just going to say Alpha Hotel Hotel, ready in the bays.
ready at the
Ready in
run
the bay. Yeah,
Yep.
ready in the runner bay, ready in the bay, whatever you want to say, but just tell them that you're ready.
Okay. Alpha Hotel Hotel, I'm ready at the runner bay. Maybe he's gone for a bathroom break.
Camden Fire, Warrior Joy Alpha Zulu, with Bravo inbound at 3000, adios, Joy. Joy Alpha Zulu, join downwind runway 24, maintain 1,800 feet, report at the zone boundary. Downwind runway 24, not below 1,800, Joy Alpha Zulu. At 1,800. 1,800.
Okay, I'll have to retransmit.
Yeah.
Okay. Alpha Hotel Hotel, ready at the runner bay.
Alpha Hotel Hotel, taxi out input echo runway 24.
Runway 24, sorry, could you repeat the holding point?
Echo.
Holding point, Echo, Alpha Hotel Hotel. Got it. Well, that was very non-standard.
We good to go. After the taxi to the holding point and clearance for circuits from tower, we took off for the first normal circuit and had an opportunity to acquaint myself with turning right and keeping my position in check. My various routines like doing the lookout, turning, etc. were okay. During my turn to downwind, my altitude reached 1,500 feet as I was busy looking out the window for landmarks and assessing my position. At the end of the turn, I was back at 1,300 feet. I was unsure if I realized how much altitude I had gained or if the plane naturally descended due to the bank during the turn. The first downwind call and bumpfish checks and those that followed were good. However, my first 3 circuits were wide. I improved this towards the end. And in the first circuit, the heading was off slightly to the left. The threshold on runway 24 is depressed by around 100 meters. This means that I had to aim to touch down further into the runway compared to runway 06. The first landing was okay, except that I needed to hold the nose up by holding the control column back to keep the plane's weight off the front wheel. I made a better normal approach in the second circuit, except that I was still wide and at one point too low. Circuit 3 was flapless. The approach was bumpy as well, but the extra 5 knots of airspeed helped with control. The landing was good, with a longer float over the runway compared to normal approaches. Circuit 4 was an engine failure simulation. Victor set the power to idle and I quickly set the plane to the best glide speed of 68 knots. I started to turn towards the runway but extended the 10 degrees of flap too early. If this was an emergency, I would still have made it to the runway, but only at the beginning of the paved part, not 1/3 into the runway as the goal dictates. I actually had to use power to get the plane over the piano keys. Victor caused another engine failure emergency on upwind. The last circuit, the 5th one, was a normal approach. There was one glitch. We only got approval to land just a second before the wheels touched down. Having clearance to land is one of the items on the landing checklist that I should always go through on the final leg. So what did I learn from this flight? Even though I wasn't able to do my first solo, I enjoyed practicing right-hand circuits and using a different runway. This was an opportunity to understand that landmarks were not the only way to determine my position in the circuit and help with spacing. Victor explained that I wouldn't benefit from referring to landmarks when operating at an airport that I haven't been before. Instead, I would have to use the runway and specific structures on the plane itself to help me with spacing. I also experienced several new and unique radio calls. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. Just click on the subscribe button below this video. And of course, you can also head over to my detailed flight training log pages on the Tech Explorations website. In these pages, I document in detail all of my experiences and learnings from each one of my training flights. These logs contain a gold mine of information for any aviation student or anyone interested in aviation. Until next time, I wish you clear skies and safe landings.